Hey everybody, it's the Nitty Professor here today to talk about a topic that I probably should have spoken about directly previously. I've certainly spoken about it indirectly, and that is, what are the reasons why women should consider wearing men's heritage boots? So we're going to consider 7 reasons why you as a woman, or maybe the woman in your life, might actually benefit from investing in heritage boots. So the first reason we're going to talk about is kind of obvious. That is superior durability and construction. So for the women watching this, and I'm certainly one of them, even though I'm talking to you, but I might watch it later. In any case, you know how it is. I mean, the shoes that are out there, even like in expensive stores that are built for women, they're typically very hard to wear because, you could break a heel, something might rip. There's a lot of synthetic materials going into them, a lot of glued construction and stuff like that. Men's heritage boots are built. They're Goodyear welted. They are, a lot of them are hand stitched. They're built with really quality leather, full grain. A lot of them have Vibram soles, very hard wearing. And, a lot of women today live just as hard as men. I mean, I live in South Dakota. I know women who work on farms, ranches. Heck, I even have, run across women who drive trucks. They do all kinds of things, construction. So why should we, just because we're women, have to buy boots which are deliberately designed and constructed more cheaply than men's? It's ridiculous. I mean, we should boycott that stuff. That's what I do. It's the rarest thing. I can't remember the last time I bought a pair of women's shoes. It's probably been 9 years. So that's reason number 1: superior durability, superior construction. They're also great for anything the environment throws at you. I've worn these babies in urban jungles out the wazoo, heat, rain, even like slush, rough terrain. This is a Vibram sole. This is the V-Bar sole. Extremely durable. I've put a lot of miles on these boots. In fact, last year when I went to Copenhagen, they were my boots that I wore the whole time. I walked all over cobblestones all over the place in Copenhagen, probably about, 12 miles a day. And just nothing. I mean, you can just tell there's just the signs of wear are very limited. So that's reason number 1. Now, reason number 2, so if you're looking specifically for boots, the broad selection is key. These boots, in case you can't tell it, they're actually purple. So this leather is viola. So the selection of men's heritage boots is way better than women's heritage boots. Now, some companies are trying. My daughter recently got a pair of Chelsea's from Thursday Boot. They have quite a representative selection of women's lines. Now, I don't know if the construction of the women's boots matches that of the men's boots. She's already complaining to me about how the heel stack was performing. They're doing pretty well for her, probably better than any kind of, women's shoes you could find at Kohl's or something like that. But still, they're not going to wear as hard as the Truman's, which, by the way, in case you didn't know already, because I've talked about these boots before, but these are built by Truman Boots out of Eugene, Oregon. And as far as selection, so let's consider these. Selection, toughness. If you want a pair of rugged boots, these are a great example. Also by Truman, this is the cherry red shrunken bison leather. Gorgeous. I just love it. Can't say enough about this leather. Again, a very hard-wearing sole. This is a Truman specific sole, but as far as variety goes, how many women's boots are you going to find in shrunken bison leather? So I've got the purple, I've got the red. I'll show you a couple of other pairs here soon. So the market is just really way larger for men's boots. There are companies like Grant Stone. There are a few Nicks. I think a few Whites, a few Red Wings that they're trying to come out with women's boots. So they're making some inroads, some headway. But if you can afford, like if your feet are big enough, and that's another point I'm going to get to here, going with the men's is just going to open up this huge, wide availability in terms of selection, the options that you have. Different leathers, different soles, different constructions. I always like the plain toe. I have a few with the broguing on them. cap toe. I've got that, but there's just way more variety. Another thing that is kind of worth keeping in mind here, so as far as selection, we're going to get into this just a little bit more, but we can look on some of these styles as being androgynous, which a lot of women want, so I'm going to look at that in just a minute. But in any case, next reason why women might want to consider men's heritage boots. So since I have large feet, theoretically I would wear a woman's 10.5 C, which equates to a men's 9D, especially now that I've got the beginnings of bunions going on. So D, maybe even a E. Women's feet aren't getting any smaller. My daughter wears a 12. She's not huge. She's only like 5'9". My daughter-in-law is similar, wears like a size 11. Do you think they're going to come out with size 10, 11.5 shoes for women anytime soon? Do they care? I really don't think they do. They're not going to, my mom, I remember she had wide feet. That's where I get my wide feet from. She always had to wear a C width. It was the trickiest thing in the world for her to find shoes that fit her feet. Nobody wants to make them. So to the extent that you fit into that category of women whose feet are larger, because on average, that's what's going on. Nobody's manufacturing like size 13, 14 shoes for anyone that's not a drag queen. This is the way to go, is you can find those sizes so easy in the men's heritage boot market. So as far as sizing, no problem. And, we have laces here, so you can adjust the size a fair amount. And you can also look for boots that are have the last that would fit your foot better. If you're like terribly, we're a AAA or something, you might have a problem. But even like NYX makes incredible boots, and they have just about any size that you can imagine. Even, in a men's boot, you can find A's. I mean, they measured my son's foot and they're like, oh, you wear a size A width. I'm like, really? That's crazy. So he's got narrow foot. Then, line up with my feet. Must have gotten that from the paternal side. But I think they ended up fitting him in a C. Like, he wanted to have that wider toe box. But you can, get the comfort level, the wide toe box, the roominess that's going to help you avoid getting bunions or avoid, hurting your toes. A lot of times we're taught as women to, squeeze our feet in the smallest shoe possible because there's some vanity that says, oh my gosh, I can't wear a size 8 when I can fit into a 7.5. But that's really not very smart, right? Because you're going to hurt your feet. And then you get to be my age and you can't walk anymore. We don't want that. So having the wider toe box and the roominess of a men's boot. And by the way, so at the top of your boot, you've got all this to hug your ankle. Your foot's not going to go anywhere just because it's got a little extra room down in the bottom of the boot. The boot's going to hug you up top. Works great for me. So let's go on to reason number 4. So this is kind of related, which is your comfort and your support. So we've talked about how men's boots are built well, they're durable, comfort and support. This is why I've really turned to heritage boots in my everyday walking around, is because they protect my ankles. So one time I really turned my ankles something awful walking my dog, and it's not going to happen in this, right? Because your ankle is protected. The support is incredible, and you can get orthotics. There are a lot of really thoughtful, like Red Wing, they have this whole line of orthotics that you can buy with the boot. They'll even size you for that. So there's a wide availability. That's another advantage of having the room inside your boot, is you can put orthotics in there that are going to make you even more comfortable, depending on, everybody has different size, shape of foot. You could have lost a toe sometime along the way, or, you just flat feet or whatever. So you're not going to find a shoe that's manufactured in China by some factory that doesn't give a crap about your comfort. You're not going to find that sort of flexibility and those options to make sure that your feet are comfortable. At Red Wing, you go in and they have this like computerized machine that measures your foot volume, everything. They tell you exactly the size that's going to work best for you and the orthotics that are going to make that boot fit you perfectly. So superior comfort, superior support. And now we're getting into the whole fashion side of the equation. Obviously, fashion changes a lot, but the whole sort of, gendering between women and men has kind of diluted itself. You look at the way women dressed, when your grandma was a girl, and the way women dress now. I mean, everybody's wearing hoodies and jeans, it's unisex. This is just like the thing. So why not, if you're gonna wear a heritage boot anyhow, why not wear a boot that is made better and more comfortable. Here's a good example of a really common unisex type of model, which is your Chelsea boot. So a lot of women, like my daughter, she picked a Chelsea boot for herself. They're just really practical, easy to put on. There's no ties or anything. And this is from, I'm going to remember it, Aster Flex. Aster Flex out of Italy. Had to kind of, my memory is getting a little old. So yeah, we're getting away from the Truman now. This is Aster Flex, and in fact, it says it right inside here. La Scarpa Buona, which I believe means the good shoe, or maybe the good boot. This company has been making boots in Italy since 1820. Let me see if I can focus so you can see what I'm reading inside of my own boot. There we go. And just look how well made that is. We've got a leather insole. We've got the breathable puncturing of the insole. Everything in there is leather. The only exception is the actual elastic to make the Chelsea boot work like a Chelsea boot. But this is gorgeous suede leather, and it's lined. And we've got your day-night sole on the bottom. That's the real deal. Day-night sole. Nope, that's actually the Aster Flex day-night equivalent. It says Aster Flex sole, but it is the micro-studded sole, which is very practical. But you can see here we've got your Goodyear welt stitched on there, and easy. So that goes back to the durability, easy to get resold. But in any case, these are timeless styles. They're gender neutral, very versatile. You could wear this with a skirt, you could wear this with a dress, you can wear it with jeans, you can wear it with leggings, all kinds of options. It's a minimalist type of style. And that's something that you're going to find a lot more in a men's boot than in a typical women's boot. So the problem with a lot of women's clothing, the way they're marketed, is they always push fashion over function. And why? Like I always felt disrespected as a woman. I should like put up with clothing with poor seams or, cheap cement. They're going to fall apart, whatever. Synthetic fabrics, plastic, pleather. Why? So if you go with the men's heritage boot market, you're going to find lots of different leathers and high quality, and it's going to be something that is very versatile. It's going to go with a lot of different looks. And in line with that, so just the whole idea of gendered design. Gendered design has generally put women on a lower type of level from men as far as durability and comfort is concerned. And we can just opt out of that whole market if if you can make the boots fit. So, and again, there are a lot of options for that. So if you prioritize quality over trends, then this is the way to go. This is the way to go. So let's look at number 6 here. These heritage boots can be looked on as an investment piece because you can wear them for so long, you can resole them, and they're not going to wear out quickly. Then, you've made an investment. Yes, they cost a little more money, but would you, wouldn't you rather have something like this that's timeless and gorgeous? By the way, these are from Grant Stone. This is their diesel boot, which is made in the jungle kangaroo leather. I'm sure these will last at least a decade and probably more. And these actually do have micro stud sole from Grant Stone. Works just as well as Day Night in my experience. But these are just gorgeous. And paying the extra money means that you can wear these arguably timeless boots for years instead of getting a pair of, pleather cement boots that you can wear for 8 months and you gotta throw them away. The lifespan of these boots makes them also more sustainable, which is also really important. And again, because you can recondition them, and it's kind of fun. I did a video the other day on conditioning my boots. I remember someone commented, "Are we really supposed to watch you do that?" I'm like, yeah, because guess what? It's kind of a really relaxing activity. Plus, I can say funny stuff when I'm doing it. But in any case, you can take care of these boots. They're worth taking care of because this leather is such high quality. This leather is actually tanned in Italy. And again, we've got the beautiful lining, like in the other boots I just showed you a minute ago from Aster Flex. So, slow fashion on steroids, that's really what these boots are about. They're also really, in the long run, better value for the amount of money that you pay. There are, if you buy boots at like Neiman Marcus or something like that, maybe even, I don't know, from Fry or something like that, you might pay $700-800 for a boot that's going to last a tenth of the amount of time that these $400 boots from Grant Stone cost. So as far as the bang for your buck, I think this is the way to go. This is the way to go. Then, as kind of a perk, there's a whole community that's built around heritage boots, and more women are getting involved, including yours truly. And I think that reflects in the fact that people like Grant Stone and Thursday and Red Wing are marketing more and more boots towards women. There are more women who are interested. I don't know if you've ever heard of Denim Darling, but she's a Red Wing wearer, and she's traveled all over the world doing really fun videos. Shout out to Denim Darling if you're out there. I watched a few videos that she did in Tokyo recently, and she was looking at their women's boots like the Clara and stuff like that Red Wing was selling in Japan. So the community is growing as far as women becoming involved in it, and it's increasingly diverse, which I also think is really important, right? Very important to have, involvement from people of different ethnicities, different races, gender, everything. And it's kind of interesting if you start looking into Asian heritage boot culture, because there's a very strong sort of affinity and appeal of American heritage wear, particularly in Japan, to a degree in China. And some of these countries are making their own heritage boots, so they're sort of injecting the whole community with even more diversity and intrigue, which is great. Like the whole Indonesian boot culture, it's starting to grow in India as well too. So that's something that's really interesting to be a part of, especially when you sort of, bring into the whole mix that it's more sustainable, it's about quality, it's about comfort, it's about durability, and those are all things that have really not been a part of women's footwear culture at any point in time, probably since like 80 years ago. So I hope that some of these reasons kind of speak to you as far as like the timeless design of heritage boots, the longevity, how practical they are, how they protect your feet, all these things. We should take care of our feet. Our feet are like the foundation for everything that we do in life. Everything you do, standing up, walking, all of that. And when these mold to your feet, so it takes a little breaking in, takes a little extra work to break these in, but once you've done it, they are just, your friends for life. You're just not going to want to wear anything else. You're going to be like, why did I put up with those, Fry heels or whatever that wore out and gave me bursitis, gave me bunions. It's really not a good idea. So there's so many reasons to invest in men's heritage boots. The only reason I can think why it wouldn't work for someone is your feet were just too small. And then you're going to want to, push the Grant Stones and the Red Wings and Nicks and all these people to please market boots for us. We deserve to be a part of this whole community. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have reasons why you think, something I've left out, why you think that women should invest in men's heritage boots, I'd love to hear them. If you have experience, if you're a woman who's worn heritage boots, I've heard from a few of you over the months about, I love Red Wings or I love whatever. Especially if there's some, I haven't heard a lot of women go on and say, well, Trumans or Trickers or whatever. But it'd be interesting to learn more about what your experience has been with heritage boots and where you stand on the issue, and what the heritage boot manufacturers should do more of in order to make even a bigger space for women. I think there are a lot of companies out there that owe it to us, including Trumans and including like the company out of Chicago that my son has bought shoes from. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Help me out here. Oak Street. I haven't seen any women's on their website at all. Rancourt has a few and probably, has some room for more. So let me know what your thoughts are as far as how we can get more availability of high quality footwear that protects our feet for women. So thanks for listening. I look forward to your comments. Y'all take care. Bye.